Thank you, Mr. President. Today, MS-13 gangbanger and human trafficker Kilmar Abrego Garcia turned himself into ICE in Baltimore. Do you have any comment on this? And why are the Democrats so emotionally attached to this man who beats his wife and is part of a terrorist organization?
Because they think he's going to be good for votes, and I think he's very bad for votes. These people are deranged. He's not good for votes. He beat the hell out of his wife. His wife is afraid to even talk about him. She's been mauled by this animal. And, through a system of liberal courts, he's doing things. But, no, we have that under control. And Pam has got that very much under control. Do you want to comment on it, Pam?
No, we've got him under control. He will no longer terrorize our country. He's currently charged with human smuggling, including children. The guy needs to be in prison. He doesn't need to be on the streets like all these liberals want him to be.
So as usual, Democrats, wondering why their approval rating is in the 20s, are once again back out protesting on behalf of the absolute worst people and worst things in our society. I think this comment is pretty accurate. It's only taken Trump 218 days to drive Democrats so insane that they're protesting in favor of more crime, war, child labor on marijuana farms, true story out of California, by the way, waste, fraud, and abuse, and releasing MS-13 human traffickers into the country. And that could not be more accurate, because today we once again saw them out in the streets protesting on behalf of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the allegedly wrongfully deported man who was a Maryland father and a great husband, even though his wife was filing police reports about beating her. But, that's apparently right. Much like George Floyd, much like many of these situations we see, these are the people that Democrats believe we ought to be throwing massive protests and making martyrs out of. But hey, after all, I think it goes without saying that is their political constituency, right? When you're a political entity trying to appeal to the fringes of the absolute lunatics and deranged and terrible people in society, then of course, who are you going to be protesting on behalf of? But in today's video, we have some updates on Kilmar, not just in terms of these laughably pathetic protests, but apparently the fact that he has now found out indeed what would happen to him if he successfully pressured woke judges to, get his release, because guess what he is now? After standing trial for human trafficking, being in prison, they let him out, and then now guess where he is? In ICE custody, awaiting deportation to Costa Rica or potentially Uganda. And needless to say, these characters in the street are not happy. And we'll run you through the whole chronicle here today, because it may actually be the case that the woke judges who tried to get him released actually were screwing him over in the process, because they did not realize, hey, if he's allowed back onto the streets, then he can end up, guess what, in ICE custody and deported once again. The best thing for him might have been to stand trial for human trafficking, but who knows? Who knows? So we'll tell you all about it. First, do us a favor, guys. If you enjoy our content as usual, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Subscribing is not only the best way to support our videos, but it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And with that said, you can currently see the sights and sounds as Kilmar Abrego Garcia's supporters. He has supporters now. He has a fan club, right? Of a bunch of geriatric Democrats who apparently reacted after learning he was detained by ICE again. I mean, you can see they're all, they're taking the George Floyd knee, right? All these old people saying, "Free Kilmar, he's such an amazing guy. How can you do this," right? I'm not exactly sure, realistically speaking, any of these old liberals would truly enjoy having the Kilmar Abrego Garcia types in their neighborhoods, in their communities. Very often you see the trend, we call it champagne socialism. In the case of open borders, I don't know, we need a different term for that. But anyways, if you're kind of curious, here is apparently what was going on at the Kilmar protest, and well, it's about what you would expect. So check this out.
Up with liberation. Down with deportation. Up with liberation. Down with deportation. Up with liberation. Down with deportation. Se puede. Se puede. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. sí se puede, 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 eso sí se puede, sí se puede, sí se puede, sí se puede.
Well, here you can clearly see the nation's top advocates for open borders and illegal immigration. Just what an astonishing sight. I mean, even Kilmar seems embarrassed by it as he's walking by. He's like, what the heck is going on? What are they wearing, guys? What is this? Interesting costume choice. I'm not sure what the pink vest is supposed to symbolize. But anyways, the context of everything you're seeing right now on your screen, and these just, again, the best soldiers apparently that the Democrat Party has to offer, is in response to the fact that just days ago, a woke judge ordered the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from jail, right? They were holding him there. They basically allowed him out on bond. And you saw many of these dramatic videos where he's reuniting with his family, guys. Such an upstanding person. Isn't this so amazing? How could they be doing this to such a wonderful member of our society? Except, as I said, the decision to release Kilmar did not really end that well. It indeed backfired. But first, here is the propaganda that left-wingers were trying to push all over the internet in terms of this family man, he loves his children, he loves his wife. Please don't Google his rap sheet and in terms of what his wife has accused him of in legal filings. But anyways, check it out.
El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido.
Oh, isn't that just so heartwarming to see him coming back home to the wife that he allegedly beat and abused? And, aren't we all so happy we have alleged human traffickers and MS-13 gang members back into our communities? Maryland is so thankful for our favorite son, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, right? That's the way these people are viewing it. But newsflash, this did not age well. Because just days later, as you can see, Kilmar Abrego Garcia today was ordered to report to a Baltimore ICE office by 8 a.m. and would have to choose between potential deportation to Uganda or Costa Rica. And, we'll tell you in a second what happened, but take a listen.
Here we go. We're awaiting Kilmar Abrego Garcia's arrival to a Baltimore ICE office as he faces possible deportation to Uganda after rejecting a plea deal last week.
Doug Lazater joins us now with the latest. Good morning to you, Doug.
Good morning, and we are about to find out whether Abrego Garcia takes the deal in front of him, being sent to either Costa Rica or Uganda. Now, Abrego Garcia, who is an illegal immigrant, of course, has been told to report to Baltimore's ICE office this morning. He's been given a choice. If he pleads guilty to human smuggling charges, he'll be sent to Costa Rica. If he doesn't, it's Uganda.
Uganda's on the table. We'll see. I mean, the DOJ's, our immigration attorneys and the judges, they're all in negotiations, and we'll see what happens. But Uganda's on the table. We have an agreement with them. It's on the table, absolutely.
Now, we'll see what happens. Abrego Garcia's attorney told NPR, I expect that ICE will take him into detention because, well, pretty much that's what they do. They have said they're going to try to deport him.
Yeah, well, update here, ladies and gentlemen. Kilmar Abrego Garcia has indeed been arrested and detained by ICE after this hearing. And again, this is what the Trump administration warned his lawyers and the woke judges what would happen. And indeed, it has now happened. And after initially facing deportation and receiving deportation to his home country of El Salvador, well, the situation might get even worse because the more these people continue to push the federal government's buttons, the more the federal government is saying, okay, well, we could make this a lot worse, right? First of all. I think secondly, by the way, isn't it just so hysterical that this person has become the martyr for the left wing when it comes to the deportations and how allegedly evil they are, right? Because the narrative is they're going to be deporting citizens. Yeah, they still cannot find a single example of a citizen or legal resident even who's gotten deported, whatever. So this is the person, right? Not just an illegal alien. He has a long history of run-ins with law enforcement for human trafficking, for hanging around MS-13 and being a part of it, it would seem, right? For domestic violence. And the Democrats are saying, free Kilmar, he's such an amazing person. See, isn't it just so evil that ICE is removing criminal illegal aliens from our communities? Yeah, well, you basically get the picture. But let's actually explain to you what happened here, because, again, this is something that the lawyers and the woke judges should have seen coming, but apparently they wanted to release him for political reasons, and it looks like it may have screwed him over even more, which is hilarious. Okay, play me the world's smallest violin. But here are those details. So, Salvadorian migrant Kilmar Abrego Garcia was arrested by ICE officials Monday after he arrived for the immigration check-in at the agency's field office in Baltimore, Maryland, where officials plan to begin removal proceedings to deport him to a third country such as Uganda. So let us explain for you essentially what happened here. So he, for whatever reason, doesn't want to be sent back to El Salvador where he's from. So the administration last week basically said, okay, you could take the plea deal. If you plead guilty to the charges, then we'll send you to Costa Rica. But if not, if you try to fight this, then we're going to be able to send you to a third country, and Uganda is heavily on that list. And so let's explain what's happening now. Speaking to reporters outside the ICE field office in Baltimore after Garcia was detained, his lawyer, Simon Sandoval Motionberg, said ICE officials had declined to tell them where they were detaining Abrego Garcia prior to his removal or tell them why they were arresting him. They also did not give his lawyers paperwork detailing his removal, and so they're really pissed off here about that. His attorneys have now filed a habeas petition in the U.S. District Court of Maryland. It was assigned to this judge right here, Paula Zenas, who since March has been presiding over the civil case challenging his deportation to El Salvador. And here you can see, as we showed you, the images of him kind of going up to make a speech that we'll show you in a second in terms of the protest that is happening outside the ICE facility, which, newsflash, big surprise, was ultimately not successful in stopping the detention of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. So, you essentially have a lot of these details here. But of course, look at the signs, of course, that we're seeing, because it's very funny. Some people have tried to tell me that, oh, nobody is protesting that Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a good person, or this whole Maryland father trope is truly like being overhyped. No, all we're advocating for here, guys, is his due process, which he is receiving right now. He's received more due process than many illegal aliens because he had the first deportation hearing. He was sent to El Salvador. They brought him back. Now he's on trial for human trafficking, and he's getting a second deportation proceeding. And amidst all of this, you're just claiming Kilmar's not getting his due process. No, newsflash here, guys. Due process, first of all, does not mean that you have to be convicted of a crime by a jury of your peers. No, as a result of immigration law that the United States has passed, including immigration law, by the way, in 1996 under Bill Clinton, you can indeed do an expedited deportation process. See, these left-wingers seem to be under the opinion, right? They always say this, that, oh, well, shouldn't you have to be convicted of a crime? This is the stat we keep hearing. ICE is deporting people without a criminal record. Well, yes, because they're illegal aliens in this country. You do not have to have a criminal record. Indeed, if you are an illegal alien in this country, you are subject indeed to deportation. But of course, that's what they keep saying, right? It's not about him, it's about the due process. Well, look at the very signs you're seeing right now outside of this protest. So first of all, it says, free Kilmar, free them all. Well, that's not very consistent with the idea of due process, because you're just saying to free him, right? No, shouldn't he be standing trial for the very serious crimes he's being accused of right now, if that's the case? By the way, in terms of due process, if it's true that he is subject to deportation and the court decides that, then why shouldn't he be deported? Because again, despite their rhetoric, this is not about due process. This is literally about the fact that they are passionately wishing to release this very horrible individual and person back into the community. That's what it's about, right? Now, will they be allowing the Kilmar Abrego Garcias of the world to go live in their neighborhoods in Maryland? I don't know. Interesting question there, right? Are they going to be renting out their spare bedrooms to these types of people? Who knows? But of course, you see the other sign here trying to abuse the Bible, saying that you shall love the stranger, for you were strangers. So apparently, right, what that translates to is, despite the fact that Israel in the Bible was kind of a well-defined nation with borders and an identity and all of that. No, that means, of course, hey, don't you know God was telling the Israelites to allow the Babylonians and the Romans and the Egyptians, right, to just go and invade and take it over everywhere, right? That's what it meant to love the stranger. But again, what is the message being communicated here? Not that, we just want due process. No, they're defending Kilmar Abrego Garcia himself as a person. And let's be clear about that. And as usual, right, much like we saw during BLM, this is always what it's about. Let's make martyrs out of the criminal. Let's defend the worst people, etc. So in response, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem took to social media to praise the news of his arrest into immigration custody. She went on here to state that she will not allow him to terrorize American citizens any longer. And there you essentially have it. So with all of that in mind, I'd like to point out the comments here of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, because first and foremost, many people are pointing out that how do you live illegally in the United States for 10 plus years and not be able to speak any English? But anyways, here's the public comment of Kilmar Garcia before he went into ICE custody. Take a listen.
Y oraron y nunca dejaron de creer y luchar por mi libertad.
And this is why I want to thank each and every one of you who marched, lift your voices, never stopped praying, and continued to fight in my name.
Gracias a mi pareja de vida, mi esposa Jennifer, mi hermano César, mi madre Cecilia, y toda mi familia.
Thank you to my life partner and wife Jennifer, to my brother Cesar, to my mother Cecilia, to my children, to my nieces and nephews, to all of my family.
Yeah, typical behavior, right? Although it's a little strange because when you watch his body cam footage from the human trafficking situation with police back in 2023, he was able to speak enough English, but I don't exactly know. But there you once again have an individual who I question, how can you live in a country for over 10 years and not at least gradually pick up an elementary form of the language? This is something that's always astonished me. Because I'll tell you guys a true story, okay? So this year, I spent a month in Spain on a trip, okay? And Spain obviously speaks the same language as the home countries of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, okay? Different accent, different, dialect, but same language, okay? And I'll tell you a true story. So, I took some Spanish in high school, barely remembered any of it, right? I don't claim to be literate. But after you spend, and this is what I just don't understand. After you spend a month in a country, you start to, some of it comes back to me. I start to pick up words. You listen to conversations. You're genuinely trying to figure it out, right? And I don't know, me at least, for instance, much like, Americans don't like it when people come to our country and can't speak our language. I wanted to show respect, so I'm trying to learn how to speak. And by the end of the month, right, just by general observation and a willingness to actually want to be able to get around in this place, I'm not claiming by any means to be literate in Spanish, but through effort, you learn enough to, I don't know, right? I could probably go to the supermarket, order at a restaurant, order at a cafe, right? Very basic stuff, which is why, and that's with 1 month there. And I'm sure many of you guys have had this experience if you've been on extended foreign vacations. That's why I look here, and it's just truly astonishing how people can spend literally, in many cases, several decades in the United States, knowing you live in a country, you probably work in a country, you have exchanges in a country, and you cannot learn enough of the basic language at all, right? You don't even make an attempt to do so. You don't take classes knowing that you need to live and work in this place. But even if you don't want to take the classes, you don't just kind of pick it up by watching TV and trying to learn something. You Google Translate what stuff means over time. You'll learn how to say things. It's astonishing. Truly going to a foreign country and realizing, hey, here's how you kind of pick up language over time. It brought me back to America, even more astonished how people fail to do this. But Kilmar Abrego Garcia, of course, is joining many of these individuals who come to this country illegally. They don't even bother to learn or speak the language. And then when they're subject to deportation, what do they scream? They say, oh, we're members of the community, right? I'm an American. I identify as this. No, you're not. You don't even have enough basic respect for this country to spend a decade here and learn how to speak to people. Okay, what American identity is supposed to be communicated by this? You know, it's just pure ridiculousness. And with that in mind, I'd also like to point out the comments of the lawyer for Kilmar Abrego Garcia, because apparently right now, they're also very upset that the administration is floating the idea of sending him to Uganda. Here's the comment saying, quote, "It is preposterous that they would send him to Africa, a country where he doesn't even speak the language." Africa's not a country, but Uganda is the country in question. Except Kilmar and your lawyers. You know what language that they speak in Uganda? You can Google this. It's English. Ugandans speak English. So the big gripe here, the complaint, is that he's going to be sent to a country where he doesn't speak the native language. Except what they're protesting simultaneously is to keep him in this country, in the United States of America, where not only do we not speak his native language, our native language is the same as Uganda's. So what is the problem? I mean, clearly Kilmar Garcia, right, has had no problem thus far hanging around in English-speaking nations, refusing to assimilate, refusing to speak the language, refusing to show the basic respect to our society as you're demanding to be kept in it, at least at an event like this. I don't care what language you speak in your house. You're out here in public trying to speak to Americans and convince Americans that you deserve to be a part of the fabric of this society, and you can't speak English, but oh, please don't send me to another English-speaking nation, right? It's hilarious. Take a listen.
It is preposterous that they would send him to Africa, to a country where he doesn't even speak the language, a country with documented human rights violations, when there are so many other options. This family suffered enough. They need to stop trying to separate them. Everything that they've done to Mr. Abrego Garcia, they've done it for one reason, which is that he had the temerity to exercise his constitutional rights. So the government's decided to use the immigration system to punish him by sending him to Uganda. We're going to fight tooth and nail against any form of deportation to Uganda, South Sudan, Libya, any other completely ridiculous country that they can come up.
Okay, well, first of all, Uganda has human rights abuses, according to you. Okay, but you guys are saying right now that the United States is abusing Kilmar's human rights. So why do you want to stay in the United States? I thought we're this evil fascist country that abuses human rights, firstly. Secondly, of course, right? The language argument there just so utterly ridiculous. But hey, to Kilmar and his lawyers, I have a very simple solution. Have you considered going back home, right? El Salvador will take you back. You're a citizen. They can't tell you no. The Trump administration, if you don't want to go back there, offered to send you to Costa Rica, which is another Latin American Spanish-speaking country. If speaking the native language, despite you not speaking our native language, is so important to you, you could do that. You could self-deport to El Salvador. You could take the plea deal and go to Costa Rica. But don't cry at the end of that when you have every warning in the world, when they keep telling you what's going to happen, and in the end, if you get sent to Uganda, I don't know. And by the way, see how the people in Uganda treat the fact that you refuse to learn their language. Because clearly you came here and you took advantage of our compassion and you just figured, okay, who cares about that? I don't know. I think in order to get around Uganda, you're probably going to have to learn English. But anyways, with that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on this whole situation in the comment section down below. Okay, what do you think of the detainment of Garcia? What do you think of these protesters? I mean, look at these people. Truly hysterical. Let me know. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.